With the bottom, huh?
No, it's just that we went through your development of the concept of one and one is two from Friday, and I wasn't there, so I discovered it, and we've been talking about this many times in the past.
Oh yeah.
And every time I don't necessarily understand it. I hope in the future I will, and I don't want you to go into the development again. But you after your explanation, you said this is what ha-haskalah is, and I want to know what is the connection between the concept of one and one is two and the concept of ha-haskalah. It's ironic that it's about understanding.
I have a very long talk.
Yeah.
And it is on the blog.
We listen to it.
You listen to it?
One from my share on Friday?
Intellect versus
Intellect versus instinct.
Developed there or something?
Yeah.
Yes.
One and one is two?
No,
it's the same
one on
Indian.
the-
Same in.
The principle of ha-haskalah, of understanding. Understanding is strictly a human type of human. Not an animals don't have understanding. The animals can also have one-on-one. As two ones. Like I told you the story with the dog, right? The dog barking. You remember that story? Mentioned the whole thing because we were the schus of this gentleman who gave us a mushal for in
That's how one-on-one. That's how you started talking about one-on-one, I think.
yeah. There was a gentleman going years back when I was a bacher. He walked around the Eastern Parkway with a learing dog. He was a very fine gentleman. Apparently, he was quite intelligent and educated. This was his companion. So one time he stood over there on Eastern Parkway and Kingston Avenue, across the street, demonstrated to the kids, what his dog has learned to do. And he would say 2 and 3, and the dog would bark out 5 times. And we all applauded him. What intelligence? What? And then he would do it one more time. And then the dog was already overtired, exhausted, and he would go and jump on his shoulder. So, what does it mean? The dog has intelligence to understand 2 and 3? Huh?
Of course not.
So how did the dog bark out 5 times?
Because he was trained.
What?
He trained him.
He trained in what?
To bark.
He doesn't need to train the
words
bark.
that the dog doesn't understand.
Okay, but the dog has barked 5 times. He said 2 and 3. And the dog barked 5 times. How is that? Have to have processed this. No? So I say all the time, there's absolutely no question the dog was not barking 5 times. The dog barked 2 times and 3 times. We, because we have seichel, we know, oh, that's 5. The dog has no idea that it's 5. Because that kind of a sense, that 2 and 3 form one unit of 5, is completely beyond the dog's orientation. Yet 2, like that, you're right. He was trained to bark 2 times when I say 2. There's no process there. There's no intellectual process there. I say 2, you bark 2 times. And if you bark 2 times, you get something in your mouth. That's the way they train dogs.
So the 2 of the dog is not 1 and 1.
Could be 1 and 1 for you.
The 2 of the dog is not a unit of 2. bark out 2 times. The dog was, the point of the day is that the dog did not calculate 5. That's important.
Okay.
He was trained to bark, and it took a long time to train the dog that they should bark 2 times when I say 2, and 3 times when I say 3. There it's possible from training, but to calculate, to add together, that's completely beyond the dog's purview. Okay, now. So 1 and 1 as 2 ones is not called intelligence.
It's the faculty of adding to get 2 that makes the difference.
If you make 2 as a unit, that's intelligence.
Okay.
But if it's 2 because there are 2 ones, you have not discovered anything. It's not intelligence. The computer is not intelligent. The computer is 1 and 1 as 2. The left one, the big one. The left one. The big one.
The big one.
Yeah.
If you believe this is correct, that a unit is abstract, very concrete. Abstract means you can take
It's on the left side.
different parts and make a new entity. You don't see it.
I don't think that's important.
No?
No, because that's just like a more sophisticated form of just the experiential thing. He's making a different point, which is that the new unit is in reality. This is the point that he's making.
So, the point of this 1-on-1, it's a very simple illustration of the difference between just a physical calculation and human intellect, which is exclusively human. And I said the computer also will say, answer 2 when you say 1 plus 1. The computer has no idea what that means. They will say there's 2 ones. And if you give the computer a complicated calculation, it says 1 billion, you say 1 billion once. It doesn't have idea. 1 billion is a lot of money. It's not the idea at all.
Is it computer code like 1 or 0? It's like
What?
It's a computer code like 1 or 0?
Computer code is 1 and 0, exactly right. That's what the whole computer wisdom is based on. Plus and minus. All right. So therefore, when we say over here, this is the point, okay? This is a repetitive thing, and since we got this deep, I'd like we should at least know what we're talking about. It says right here that ha-haskalah brings about the birth of midos. If ha-haskalah means just to know the bottom line on a physical level, it does not. There's no midos to be created. Taking the cue from that example, 1-on-1 is 2 ones. There's no midos involved. There's no reality involved. 2 ones and 3 ones and 1 is the same thing. When you say that there is 2, as we discussed, this is what we discussed. 2 is a very deep concept. You don't realize it, but it's a very deep concept. As we said then, should I repeat it? We said then, in order to conceptualize 2, in a simple sense, there has to be two aspects involved. the source and the result.
You said provision, actually.
Huh?
You said provision.
Provision, the source, the one who provides it. You know? And then there is a result that which one who accepts it. Let's talk from the result perspective. You are sure that if you have one and one, you'll have two. But how? Look, you have this one. This one, does it guarantee that there could be another one here? In order for another one to be here, it's a completely different reality. This one doesn't guarantee. So who says there could be two? The assumption that there could be two is that the same one who provided for this one will provide for two. Why? Because the one who provided for this one is unlimited. And therefore he can provide for two equally with equal simplicity. And it's not only that he can provide for two, this is the Yiddish perspective, that he wants to provide for two. The reason there is a one is because this is what he commanded. He wants that there should be one. And if he wants it, he wants that there should be two as well. Nothing happens inadvertently, automatically. To transfer this to the human, the human level, which is a limited level, but nevertheless, if you have a party, they will get together in your home. If you have friends, you're not going to call friends just out of the blue. You have to be able to provide to greet them, to welcome them, give them a chair. And therefore, it is a representation of your grace that you have room in your heart and in your mind and in your home for more than one. It doesn't automatically form one and one two.
That's why there's midos.
That's why it's midos. This is where you say, ha-haskalah, this is the basis, this creates midos. Because seichel itself, the seichel that we are talking about, is a real seichel. It's not two minds. Identifying some peripheral meaningless points. There's a neshama element in seichel. And if this neshama element is taken from chokhmah into bina and it is musar, then that automatically creates midos. And this is what's called moker hakor, moker harochik, moker hakor. Chokhmah is moker harochik. Chokhmah, maybe we'll discuss it. Right now, the point in my Haroch it's enough that we try to understand Moker HaKorah. Moker HaKorah means that Lino actually engages, focuses on understanding how this is a Moker for midos. What does it mean to know this? And the real haskalah, that creates a very. This is why Bina is called Melech de Le'ela, Malchus de Le'ela. How Malchus comes into this, we're very discussed, I think, in 3 different classes. The principle of Malchus. In brief, bring it over again because this is something which is completely misunderstood and misinterpreted. Let's go back to this host who is inviting guests to his house. we must understand clearly that he's invited a guest to his house not because he has got room, so might as well be there, somebody be there. It is a personal involvement that enables him to invite guests to his house. If it were inadvertent, on the contrary, what are you coming to disturb my privacy? This is the principle of malchus. We should get this point. Nothing is in the world inadvertently. Just full of that's how the world is. It fell in, and nothing. And I'm fighting for my survival. Don't let you disturb me. No. If it is there, it's because it was provided for, intentionally. This is true in the mashal that we say a host, you invite people in your home, or people come to your chasana. It's the same thing. It's your grace that can accommodate in your mind and in your heart all of these people. See this quotes from Nariza. I think they're coming to this later on. That the tzimtzum that was oyer insert mamalak amok machol, there was no place for world, and then it was a tzimtzum, and the tzimtzum created, so to speak, a cholol and mokim pon. I'm sure everybody encountered this. Cholol mokim pon. Cholol means a vacuum. Emptiness. Mokim ponim means available space. So I'm not going to talk about the cholol now. That's a continuing. Mokim ponim is available space, which means that it created a place for the world. Available space means that everything that comes in it belongs there. Except he's only providing the space, but he's providing the space intentionally. It's with available space. So this is the principle of Chochmah and Bina. Huh? Mokim, right. Okay, we're going to listen. Yes. And Bina provides, Mokim Ponim is available space. It actually provides for this. Mokim Ponim is not Cholon me. Okay? Those are the pshat that Hasoga, even though you're masik, what are you masik? You're masik that which is in Chochmah. But once you bring it down to Hasoga, it is space oriented. What is there? What's there? Where is it there? There is in the space. Now, what's the provision here? Even though this may be in infinite space, but it's still a provision. All right, enough of this.
How is that related to Hasaga?
Huh?
We said enough, so. Well, okay, how is it related to ha-haskalah?
Hasoga means that there is a recipient of that chokhmah. That's means hasoga. A recipient is already a Ayin. We're gonna let me take it there. We said chokhmah is like sight. Sight. The phenomenon of sight, the real phenomenon of sight, not as it is not oriented, is an effortless observation. You're observing not because you're observing, but because there is something there to see. Because you're being shown. You're totally uninvolved in that activity. And why? How do you see it? You see it because it's the absolute truth. You cannot not see it. You're not even aware that you're seeing something. That's all. In order to become aware that you're seeing something, that's where you have to focus in, and you have what's called the borag hamavrik. You have, oh, I see what I see. And that borag hamavrik provides for Bina to be able to decipher what is contained in this vision. Once you have this, what is contained in that pertains to the seer. The way sight itself is not related to the seer. It's relating exclusively to the one who shows it to you. No? This is the great thing of Chokhmah and Bina. This is why you say Chokhmah brings truth to them. Because that is the phenomenon of Chokhmah. I see this not because I see it, because it affects me. I don't even know what I see, but I see it because it's true. Because it's there. It is not correct to the interpretation that I see things because I'm concerned about how it affects me. That's the animal's vision. Human being sees things because that's the reality. Not because he's affected by it. And then, so therefore there is no seer, so to speak. There is just the what you see. And Bina comes the hasoga. There's already a seer. And this is how midos are formed. Midos is how this vision is translated on the human level. What does it mean that you saw this?
What does it mean that I saw this? This is midos or this is ha-haskalah?
This is the midos in Sefer. And eventually that turns out to be midos. That's what it says in the midos of the Sefer.
Can you
No, what I wonder what Naftali asked and what you answered. I just mean.
I thought you asked but this is midos or seichel?
When I see it.
No, what it mean what I see? What does it mean that I saw? I said this is seichel, but it's midos of the seichel.
In terms of the muscle of sight that you're using, when you're just kind of gazing before you focus in on anything, that where you're just kind of seeing on the level where the world is being presented to you, not because you're actively looking at it, that's kind of representative of where you can't personally be affected by that type of sight. You see the world, you're not focusing on anything, there's no relation to it, there's no ha-haskalah, there's no kind of limiting and delineating any part of it, so there's no real effect from that type of sight. You don't become excited, you don't think about it. In order to really start to become excited about what you're seeing or to try to understand what you're seeing, you kind of have to disengage from that presentation type of sight and really focus in. That corresponds to ha-haskalah and what we're talking about.
Right, yeah, but yes, correct. But you have to understand that the sight that you described, the unengaging sight, is also one of your koiches. You see it because you have chokhmah. However, the animal doesn't have that perception. The reason that we have that perception, is because we, in our nefesh is related to absolute truth. Therefore, in the koiches also, we have the chokhmah that allows us to see the truth because it's truth, not because it affects me. And then it translates into all right. This is an endless discussion. We can broaden it, but I think as long as we get the point over here, that there is what's called a mocker. We discussed the meaning for mocker last week at great length. That mocker is an imperative element in everything that exists in the world. If it exists without a mocker, then it's what's called an accidental existence. It has nothing. It has no basis for being. It's like 1 on 1 is 2 ones. There's nothing to it. The mocker is, like we say, on the higher level is chokhmah and bina. Chokhmah and bina, both of these together provide the person a sense that there is a reality. And what they explain is that chokhmah is the mocker horochik. There is a reality, but it does not engage in your practical, in your presence. Bina brings it down to your presence. Bina brings down to the person, to us, the principle. Not only there is a truth, but you are part of that truth. And you are a full-fledged participant in it. And how do you participate? With your midos. This is the chokhmah and bina. And this is why bina ultimately creates midos. All right. I don't know exactly where we should start because we already went through this many times. We will start from the line that begins with one ha-haskalah. About a third from the bottom of Nun Hey. So, what we concluded here is that the Makir HaKoreb is Bina, because Chokhmah provides only a Nekuda, a point of truth. And Nekudas ha-haskalah will not create midos. Only Hasaga will create midos. Hasaga means that I get this within my orientation, with my own seichel. As in the example of Hiserus, of being aroused for Ahava v'yira. Like we just finished saying, that Bina is the guy that says, not only is this true, but you are part of that truth. This is where you are really present. And if you realize that you're present in that truth, then inevitably this will arouse a union of Ahava v'yira. Because this is being a participant in something phenomenal. And in that there are both. There's the Ahava and the Yira, because it is awesome. On the other hand, it is also extremely beckoning, extremely meaningful on a personal basis. But to come to this sense of Ahava v'yira, harei dafka, that can only happen al idei shemasig zo'inyan ho'eliki, as a result of the fact that his masig means he reaches in and he grasps, he fully comprehends his inyan ho'eliki, and then umizboinen boy, and then he actually reflects into it. As a result of that, Yisoy will be Ahava v'yira. Then he will be Yisoy, he will be aroused, and he will respond to it with an element of Ahava v'yira. But from the first stage, haskalah hu'inyan eliki, just the sensing and the conceptualization of the inyan ho'eliki, lo yisei leklal b'hispoilos Ahava v'yira. He will not be miser b'hispoilos Ahava v'yira. That will not touch him. Lately, we've been using the following perception. And I was saying that everyone, when he thinks about life, human life, and if he thinks into it, he will readily recognize that life is eternal. And even if he recognizes this, and this is from the ha-haskalah, yes, life is eternal. How can life dissipate? This will not translate in Ahava v'yira. This will not translate in a practical change in his life. But if he is misboid in it, he understands what he is actually experiencing here, what's going on, then it will have an effect. Then he will treasure every moment of life. But this eternity that is eternal, you have it right here. And every moment you're misrespecting full of that eternity. On the other hand, if you are respectful, then you are getting the benefit of that great truth. So I can talk about it in circles. It's not going to happen unless we personally attend to it. Because this understanding is part of our nefesh. This is not something I can be presented. This is a very significant illustration, because as I said, everybody, when you ask them a question, is life eternal? Will say, yeah, of course, life eternal. And then, what does it mean to you? Nothing. It means, of course, when you talk about it, but it doesn't change his mode of life.
So what is his body mean?
Because chokhmah, like we said before, chokhmah, you could see things. You see it because it's there. And the nefesh, alev nefesh, will see it. And that does not mean that this is where you are in terms of your personal orientation and personal life. This has not yet trickled down. You have to have the bracha to bring it down from a higher level into the mitzias. That's called bracha. Like this that we learn the whole time. We mamshich from chokhmah into bina, and then from bina into midos.
What does his binamis mean?
Okay, that's. Okay, so this is the point that Rebbe is explaining. B'chol hatoyo lechesed u'gvura, any hatoyo, any leaning, either to chesed or to gvura, which in the terminology before is ahava v'hira, either the extreme greatness of this or the awesomeness of this, however, whatever it is that he reflects, who mehasogas or inyan dafka, that comes and is affected mehasogas or inyan, only from comprehending of grasping the inyan, not by having the concept. And for this reason, bebino yesh is kalos ha-midos. In bino, in fact, there is already incorporation of the midos. The hu inyan, which is the principle ha-hatoyo lechesed u'gvura, that in bino there is a sense of a hatoyo, of not only what the truth is like in chokhmah, but what does it mean? Hatoyo, it means a leaning to chesed or to gvura. Either I like it or I don't like it. And then there is also the inyan hispoilus sichli. That's what we mentioned before. Hispoilus sichli. But in his seichel, even though it's only seichel, not midos, but in seichel itself there is hispoilus. Hispoilus means he gets personally affected. I want to finish the next line, maybe 2 lines, so that we see the whole presentation on that. This is one more line. In his spoilers sichli, the hagam shezehu b'seichel adayin, that although it is still in seichel, it is not what it's not at the level of his spoilers. It is at the level of seichel, of comprehension. Mikom still, who b'bchinas his spoilers. It has an element of his spoilers, of being affected. Shezeh inyan ha-midos. His spoilers is already the principle of midos. Okay, this one, in a sense, demands that we try to clearly distinguish between seichel and midos, which we already did, but to get this point here, even though it's b'seichel adayin, it's still seichel. Seichel means I'll have to step back a moment. We have to always recognize that all our faculties, all our koiches, come from the nefesh. Not only do they come from the nefesh, but they're actually reflective of nefesh. Like we said before, the reason I am able to understand certain things is because my nefesh has that quality in it. The reason I can understand and see that there is a truth is because my nefesh is truth. Except when I understand truth, this is already what's called the effect, the koyach coming from the nefesh. The nefesh, the truth of the nefesh itself is on the nefesh level, and then it's reflected in the koiches as the nefesh affects the person in the goof. So seichel and midos, and as we pointed out, every human activity, to walk is also a nefesh. How am I able to walk from point A to point B? The human being walks not because he has legs, he has feet. The animal walks because he has legs. The human being walks, is able to walk because he actually projects, he actually can relate to the place where he's walking to. And on the nefesh level, the reason he can relate to the place that he's walking to is because the nefesh altogether, I said, is eternal, is unlimited. He is everywhere. Like we mentioned always from the Baal Shem Tov. Mokim sheritzoyne shalodom shomhu. Where a person wants to be, that's where he is. Why? Because the nefesh is not limited. The nefesh perceives reality not because of its immediate experience, but because reality is a godly truth. Wherever there is reality, that's what the nefesh is. What's in nefesh? From that truth of nefesh result two koiches. That other, but in our experience, chokhmah and bina. Chokhmah, as we said before, like in observation, the chokhmah is physically is called a sight. The observation is totally automatic. It is not an active experience. Because there is, therefore I see it. In other words, the chokhmah is truly and fully a reflection of the nefesh itself. It's not because the human being has experienced something. This is the nefesh of the human being on the conscious level. I'm seeing it. But this is the nefesh. There's a higher element called oineg and rotzen, but on the conscious level, this is the chokhmah. Again, I always am tempted to make the point. We should reject totally the concept that this is habitual. It's a habit. It's what you got used to. It's a nefesh quality. Fully, purely human nefesh quality. It's not what people got used
to. What is a nefesh quality and not habit?
The fact that you can see, that you can perceive going from, 1,000 miles away.
In other words, it's constant provision of that ability.
I don't know. I don't know exactly what you're trying to point out, so I'm not going to say yes or no.
I'm trying to understand. I wasn't following what we should reject.
It's a reflection of nefesh, the fact that we have a nefesh. That's what it is. Except it's a flesh and nefesh on the koyach level, on the chokhmah level.
You're right. I'm saying, like you were saying, we should reject the view that it's habitual.
Right.
What does that mean?
That we walk as we have legs.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to go into it. It's a horror story. You're able to walk outside because you already attempted to walk from room to room. And therefore you can go outside. Right, Ruben? Isn't that a horror story?
Murder.
Huh?
It's murder.
What happens if a man doesn't
And
have
these are our therapists. These are our people who understand our nefesh and who are going to cure us.
New schools of thought, though.
Huh?
I said, but there are new schools of thought.
Oh, Baruch
Have
Hashem.
to be. About time.
If a person needs strength, you say you want to walk, so you want to walk 100 miles, you have to have the strength. So what part of the body makes it? I'm going to exercise.
Okay,
I'm going to eat the right diet so I can have the ability to walk. Is that sechel?
That's only 10% of the factor. If not much. A person can be fully healthy physically and not be able to move a limb.
What part of the sechel makes you understand? He has to get the ability. He has to build up the ability to do it.
You know what part? The part of the seichel that you recognize that you are a creature and you have a creator. And that the world belongs to the creator. That's the part that enables you to go everywhere. Okay, this is all right.
Up to bin.
What?
By walking, it was explained Chochmah, the Chochmah part, the bin.
Okay, so then there is the the projection. This is the chokhmah part, and then
The projection comes automatic.
the projection comes automatically because because the chokhmah is a direct reflection of nefesh itself. This is direct reflection of nefesh itself. Like we always point out, you cannot, so to speak, harm the chokhmah. As the Rebbe says in Tanya, Ad b'chinas chokhmah shebo v'lo yad bichlal. You cannot possibly harm the chokhmah. And the illustration that I use lately is that even those people who have forcefully convinced themselves that they come from monkeys, they can never really acquiesce with that thing. They cannot really naturally merge with this thought. Every time they say it, they have to again convince themselves that that's what it is. Because this is the human truth. There's no way you can know it differently.
So what is the union that we talk about? Matamayas, Chochmah, Matamayas Alev, Ayin Nesach.
Doesn't say a chokhmah, it says a seichel.
Maya.
A
Not
moyach.
referring to Chochmah?
Chokhmah always remains pure. That's what the Alter Rebbe says. Because chokhmah is not dependent on your experience. Chokhmah is inside the nefesh. The only thing that can affect the chokhmah, and even there it is only to some degree, is Rahman Islam Avedas Adar Koris. nefesh itself is nichras min koire. But it's tamazay. Even averis do not affect the chokhmah.
What's the bina in the walking?
Oh, the bina is how this is recognized already from the human perspective, from a human being's perspective. Like we said before. Okay, the time is up. I just want to say this. Our perception that there is this distance, that's nothing to do with us. This is what we see mitzad nefesh. But then projecting that I can get there, that's where under bina part. This is where you have to you reinterpret this whole thing and say, okay, there's a distance involved. Distance is a measurable thing. No matter how big the distance is, it's a measurable thing. This is how bina perceives the distance. Chokhmah does not look at it in terms of big distance. Like we said, the Yidden that the Baal Shem Tov said, "Mogim sheritzonu shel Odom shom hu." That is not possible to understand in bina. Bina has to take it and says, somehow I can, not I am there, but I can get there. This is how Bina, this is ha-haskalah. How can we relate to that concept from who? We know in Chokhmah, yes, but we can relate to it. But I can get there. Any place that I want to, I can get.
And that's exciting.
That's very exciting. I just want to make a point since I mentioned this. This union that if I want, I can get there, has profound significance. We mention all the time what the Gemara says, that the nature of a person is that yesh lemona reitz mosai. Yesh lemosai reitz a dalad meis. It's a dalad meis, it's a ches meis. Whatever he has, he immediately projects he wants to have double. He has 100, he wants 200. He has 200. Everybody understands this? Do I have to translate this? No. So the question is, if 800 is better than 100, better than 200, better than 400, so why doesn't he want 800 right away? We're not 1600. Why is he measuring, so to speak, his desires? Why is he limiting his projection? At the start of, I go into business. What do you expect? I'm going to expect to become a multi-billionaire. Why not? Most people, normal people will say, I expect to be able to pay my bills and bring up my family in comfort. That's his projection. That's the normal projection. Maybe it's matzliach and who knows what yes, maybe he can take and sustain a whole community, but that's not the way he projects it. Why is that?
Reality.
Huh?
Reality. You have to get started and you realize reality.
This is the pshat, resipient shel Odom. A person does not want 800 if he doesn't have 100. He's got no idea what it means to have 100. Like I said before, his mind is too small to even project it. Of course there is 800. I know there's multiple, I can't relate to it. It's not me. A person realistically can relate to that. Like I said, I can project that I can get there. Because I can project it. But to get beyond that which I can project, I can't relate to it. It's not me. Like we have this example that everybody understands instantaneously. Everybody wants to have a home, a comfortable home. Maruvach, plenty of room. If you suggest a person you know, I'm going to give you a home. Empire State Building be your private residence. Anyone in his right mind will say, there's no way I can acclimate to that. Give me the Empire State Building, I'll sell it and then I'll buy a little home. I can acclimate to it. Why not? You have room for, you can,
press 1.
every one of your socks you can place in a different room. Instead of putting it in cupboards and in everything.
Returning to the conference room.
There is no way that a normal person would be able, they can't relate to it. This is the similar thing, saying, Mokim Sheritzoyne Shel Odom Shom Hu, because Ritzoyne Shel Odom has a human, is Ritzoyne his will, and was his up to that rotz. He actually perceives this reality. He lives in that reality.
This Ratzon is more associated with Bina than with being above Chochmah.
No, not Bina. It's Rotzen. It's a nefesh, but it's part of the realistic nefesh. Nefesh also comes begili, like it comes in Chochmah and Bina. Nefesh itself is infinite, but then it comes through, like we said, to Oineg and Rotzen. There is a hislapshus in the nefesh, and there is a gilui for the nefesh, and if he wants it, then that means that this one has been translated at his level.
Even though at the outset when we talked about walking, in Chochmah he sees the whole world.
The way that his Rotzen sees it.
And then by Bina to actually start moving,
then he translates it in terms of accomplishing it. Okay. But it is within the capacity, within the human purview. What we said that Odom Shein Beis Shein Odom, and yet given an Empire State Building, he doesn't want it. Now he has to be something that places him in the world as he perceives it to be in the world. This is the reality. This is human reality.
Meaning human Rotzen, Rotzen of the human being. It's custom made for human being. Like he doesn't like. I just trying to understand. Like you say, like Ratzoyne Shel Odom Shombu, like the whole globe. He's there simultaneously. But we say, for example, like we don't think about what was before the world, what will be after the world.
Oh no. I don't know, Abraham. Where are you going? He is there simultaneously in the sense that he perceives that there's a reality way beyond the one that he can measure.
But it's not ridiculous. That's what you're trying to say. I mean, it's not. Like you're saying, a person would not want to live in Empire State Building.
No one wants to live in Empire State Building.
Meaning, even mitzat his rotzen, he would not want to.
No.
So if you're talking about the living, there is a certain way to live.
This because this is already a rotzen of a nefesh as he's mislabish in the goof,
right?
And therefore it's meaningless for him to live in Empire State.
Right.
Paltiel?
Yes, sir.
I'm just in that point that when you have money, you want Masayim, Dalit Meis.
Right.
And it's not the Rotzing is Mislapshis Beguf, so there's a Shtikel
Right.
Agbola. So the Rotzing is Misgadel, Toich Meshe, the Rotzing itself, there's Shinuyim and more Hamshache.
Yeah, Rotzen is
I thought Oining and Rotzing is a constant. And
Oining and Rotzen, just like in Chochmah and Bina, there is a way it is reflective of the nefesh, the way it is understood in the slapshus. Only in Rotzen is the same thing. Mokim Sheritzoyne Shel Odom Tzin Shalodom means that this is a rotzen that, as a human being, he can relate to. There's rotzen ha-nefesh, which is beyond Odom.
It like trickles down.
It trickles down. Mokim Tzin Shalodom, as a human being, he can possibly want this. This is what we're saying all the time. You find a person lying in the gutter, and he's drunk in his own throw up, and you come to him and says, "Get up, I'll take you home, I'll give you a shower, I'll give you lunch, just leave me alone, I'm happy over here." And we all understand that he is not saying the truth, he is not happy. Why is he not happy? Because it's lacking human stature at the minimal level. It's not that he is unhappy that he doesn't have the Empire State Building. He's unhappy that he doesn't have a normal place. He can't look at himself as a human being. This rotten element at the minimal level is always there, as long as the person is alive. No matter what his conditions are, it'll be more restrained, more limited, more bigger, but some human element will always be there. Like I said before, you're not going to have a human being who will fully acquiesce to the idea that he comes from a monkey. Just no, it doesn't happen. It's impossible.
But when he becomes a higher level Adam, he has more hamshachas harotzen.
Yes, no more. Yeah, the rotzen, the true rotzen is more misgalis, because everything is compensatory to the Odom. There's a human receptacle, a recipient of that, and it has to be contained within that receptacle. The blatant motion, if it is a personal dwelling, the Empire State Building, how can you reject it? And everyone in his right mind sees, yes, in fact, that's not a home. But need a home. I need a home that defines me, where I feel comfortable, that says I'm for real. In Empire State Building, I'm not going to be real. I'm going to get lost in it. It's a great home for show, but it's not for me.
So you could have, people growing up in all kinds of affluence, and they can't find themselves. They can't.
Absolutely. That's really such a mind-boggling thing. It's so painful. The affluence element is reminiscent. The Rebbe spoke about this, about what's his name? Howard Hughes. Howard Hughes was a multi-billionaire. He was the richest man in the world. Quite a status. Wealthiest man in the world in his days. And he acquired his wealth not by inheritance, he built it up. He was a brilliant engineer. He built up a company to use aircraft, and he became a multi-billionaire. And he defined his life on the basis of his wealth, not as a human being. Like they say, he did not sleep 2 nights in a row in the same bed. Every bed that he slept in was absolutely the most comfortable available at that time. No question about it. He didn't live a day.
He became sedate because he thought people were going to take everything.
He became sedate because he did not relate to himself as a human being. His wealth is what defined who he was.
That's why he couldn't live in a house. He couldn't have his own home.
He had thousands of them.
He was a paranoid.
No, listen.
He could not limit himself to a home because his home should have been, could only be the Empire State Building. Can you relate to Empire State Building? He owned hotels. Every hotel he slept in was, he first owned it and then he left it.
To remain on this call, press 1.
He didn't have a human orientation. To understand what that means. A human orientation, I said that. What it means is, I am a human being created by my creator to be what I am. And if I do not recognize that I was created to be what I am, then yes, I'm totally lost, no matter what I am.
And yet, that's the majority of people in the world, that's what they drink for. To get more and more riches and more surplus and more women and more houses. That's what
Please,
people
no,
drink
you know,
for.
watch what you say over here. We have
Pure,
hadas over here.
Without the women part, I don't find anything wrong with what he just said.
And then when you get to it, it's emptiness. That's the
Oh, you're gonna get there.
When you get there, it's emptiness.
And I know some big billionaire.
What?
There's some big billionaire, and someone told me that he's so worried for his panusa more than I.
He's what?
He's worried for his panusa.
Worried.
He's concerned that
He has hundreds of millions of dollars.
I never.
This is connected to.
it's disconnected.
Thank you for the lesson today. You should listen.
Oh, man, thank you very much. We know very wealthy people, very wealthy people that they're normal people. They know what to do with their wealth. I mean, they understand. They say, listen, every shliach, by every bar mitzvah, I contribute to whatever it is. Every chassan, I give this. He has got the capacity to make that kind of a commitment, and he's part of the world. He's a real presence. He's doing a human service. And it's quiet, it's not, he's doing something. Okay.